The last time I'd seen Sherlock Holmes was towards the end of a harsh, bleak winter. It was so cold that blocks of ice floated down the Thames, and the papers reported birds had frozen solid on the shoulders of Lord Nelson's statue in Trafalgar Square. Typical Fleet Street hyperbole. Alas, the mood in 221B Baker Street was no warmer. I found the door locked, so I knocked upon the thin wooden frame. "Holmes? Hello? It's Watson. Are you accepting visitors today?" "Watson? Of course. Come in. Use the key secreted above the doorframe." My fingers nimbly pushed aside the false panel above the doorframe, and I retrieved the key. I opened the door to find my friend on the floor in front of the fireplace, cross-legged and sitting so close I feared the fire would ignite his dressing gown. He was tearing out strips from pages of the Strand, crumbling them into balls, and tossing them into the flame. I took off my coat, set down my bags, pushed some papers and books out of what was formerly my favorite chair, and sat down. "Holmes, I'm afraid to ask, but what, pray tell, are you doing?" "It's an experiment. I am attempting to deduce what sort of chemical agents are used in the ink by the printers of this abominable rag by gauging the changing color in the flame." "Chemical agents? Like a poison? Are you suggesting that the publishers of the Strand are poisoning their readers?" "But some sort of neurological agent. Something that shrinks the mind and twists the brain." "And you had to use an edition with one of my pieces in it?" Holmes tossed the rest of the paper into the fire, stood up as gracefully as a cat, and closed the cast-iron screen as the flames crackled and popped. "It doesn't matter. The experiment was a failure. No conclusive evidence." "And which one of my stories has fired up your contempt this time? Let me guess. Was it the one about the scarlet tapestry, or the sugar-glass killer?" "There must be something in the ink." He stood and faced me in a flash. "It's the only logical conclusion as to why people would continue to dabble in this twaddle," he said, and then threw himself into his chair. "Holmes, so, how long will you be gone? I hope you remembered to get the right gauge of fishing line this time. How—" I stopped myself from engaging him in this game. I knew how he delighted in observing me attempt to fathom the brambles of his mind, but I was in no mood to finance his whimsies. "I will be gone for 3 or 4 months. There is a medical symposium in Switzerland I have been invited to speak at, following which I have been invited to a friend's hunting lodge for some fishing, and then you'll be doubtless retreating to some god-forsaken cabin to compose more lurid tales for your taskmaster at the Strand. I gathered as much from the shopping bag at your feet, full of notebooks, the horrible lined sort that smell like glue and mold, the sort you prefer to use when you are wool-gathering. So, just go and scribble away more of your lurid tales, turning me more and more into a caricature, a figment of fiction. Still, this could be a godsend. Perhaps in your absence I will have the congenial silence of solitude that I am so deprived of when you are underfoot." I pushed myself angrily out of my chair, walked to the window, took a deep breath, and slowly released it. I knew he was baiting me, trying to get me to stay and endure with him the long London winter, and I didn't want to leave on bad terms.